Mother-in-law called me a parasite because I work from home, so I decided to move out with my daughter, and now she's mad as I am selling that house, and she won't stop blowing up my phone because she thought the house belonged to her son. So I, Kaylee, 31 female, have been dealing with some serious tension with my mother-in-law, Faith, 57 female, for what feels like forever. And I really need to get this off my chest because it's driving me crazy. Let me start from the beginning. For context, my husband is in the army, so it's pretty much just me and my daughter, Ella, 5, most of the time. I'm super proud of my husband, but being alone all the time can be tough. When the pandemic hit, everything got turned upside down. Like so many others, I lost my job and I ended up being unemployed for a long time. I wasn't making money, and I guess that didn't sit well with Faith. Honestly, I get it. A lot of people were struggling during that time, and I was doing my best to keep my head above water. I'd tried to do little things to make money, like babysitting, selling stuff online, but still, it was hard. Not being able to contribute financially really made me feel low, and I could tell Faith didn't think highly of me because of it. She used to make little comments like, "When will you get back to work?" Or, "Ella's getting older now. Don't you think it's time you found a job?" It made me feel like I was just sitting around, not pulling my weight in the family. What she didn't understand was that I was doing everything I could to make sure Ella was taken care of while my husband was away. I was doing everything in my power to make sure our house was running smoothly even without a paycheck. Anyway, I eventually found a work-from-home job that has been a real game-changer. I'm finally bringing in some money again, and I feel like I'm contributing to the household. But the problem is Faith still doesn't seem to believe I'm working hard enough. She has this idea that I'm just sitting at home, not doing anything, and I'm just using my husband's money. She even went as far as calling me a gold digger once, which was absolutely uncalled for. I don't know why, but she just always had this issue with me. She's always made me feel like I'm not good enough for her son and that my main goal in life is to take advantage of him. I've never done that ever, but she refuses to see it, and it's honestly exhausting. The thing is, she's really nice to other people. Like when we're around other family members or friends, she's sweet and welcoming. But as soon as it's just me and her, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. She'll make passive-aggressive comments about my lifestyle or how I spend my time at home, and it just hurts. I can never seem to do anything right in her eyes. Now, when my husband's around, Faith is all smiles. She's super sweet and tries to act like everything's fine. But the minute he leaves, it's like the mask slips and she becomes this critical, judgmental version of herself that I just can't handle. I've tried to talk to my husband about it, but he kind of brushes it off. He says his mom's just old school and doesn't understand modern work dynamics, but that doesn't make it easier to deal with. We used to live in the same city as Faith, and our house was close to hers. I mean, like 10 minutes away tops. Faith would just pop by our house uninvited all the time. And when I say pop by, I mean, she would literally show up at random hours of the day even when she knew we were in the middle of something. It wasn't like a, "Hey, I'm just stopping by to visit" kind of thing. Oh, no. It was more like, "I'm showing up to inspect your life and make sure you're living it the way I think you should." I swear sometimes it felt like she was my personal life coach, but not in a good way. It got so bad that I would dread hearing the doorbell ring. I knew it was her. It got to the point where I would lock the door and pretend we weren't home or just act like I didn't hear her knock. I hated being like that, but honestly, it was the only way I could keep my sanity. Every time she'd come over, I felt like I had to defend myself and explain everything I was doing. I was tired of having to justify my life choices to someone who clearly didn't understand. What really stings though is that Faith has always had this idea in her head that I married my husband for the benefit of being an army wife. Yeah, you heard that right. She thinks I married him for the paycheck and the army benefits. She'll make little comments like, "I hope you're enjoying all the benefits of being an army wife," or "It's nice to have a husband who can take care of you like that." And I'm like, really? It's so frustrating. I didn't marry him for the money. I married him because I love him. But no matter how many times I try to explain that, she just doesn't seem to get it. But she took things too far during my daughter's birthday. My daughter had just turned 6, and I wanted to do something special for her birthday. I decided to throw a small party in our backyard, just a simple gathering with her close friends, a few family members, and a couple of my own friends who I know well. We had decorations, snacks, games, and of course, cake. Nothing crazy, but it was exactly what I wanted to make her happy. Ella was excited and I was determined to make it a great day for her. Faith was already in a bad mood when she arrived. I didn't think much of it at first because, honestly, I just wanted everything to go smoothly for Ella's sake. But things quickly went downhill, and I still can't believe it even happened. I was talking to some of the other moms at the party trying to make sure everyone was having a good time when my friend, who happens to be the mother of Ella's best friend, pulled me aside. She looked upset and told me that she overheard Faith talking to a couple of other guests in the corner of the yard. I didn't know what to expect, but then she said, "Kaylee, your mother-in-law just called you a parasite and said your work-from-home job is a joke. She's telling people that you just sit at home and spend your husband's money. I can't believe she's saying that stuff." You guys, my heart just sank. I was absolutely floored. It felt like a slap in the face, and all I could think of was, why would she say that? I've never done anything to make her think I'm using my husband or not contributing. I've been working hard at home, trying to build something for myself. And on top of that, I manage everything for Ella while my husband is away. I couldn't understand why she'd go this far. But the thing is, I didn't want to ruin my daughter's birthday. Ella was having such fun with her friends, and I didn't want to cause a scene or make the day about me and my issues with Faith. So as angry and hurt as I was, I stayed quiet. I just took a deep breath and tried to keep my cool. That night after the party, I couldn't stop thinking about what happened. It was like everything just hit me all at once. Not only had Faith badmouthed me in front of my friends, but she was also lying about me to family members who had no idea what was going on. It felt like such a betrayal, especially since I've always been welcoming to her. I've never once treated her with anything other than respect, even when she's treated me like garbage. And this is how she repays me, by spreading lies about me? I was beyond furious. So after everything that went down during my daughter's birthday and the continuous drama with my mother-in-law, Faith, I decided I had enough of all the stress and negativity. I'd been thinking about it for a while now, but that whole situation with Faith really pushed me to make a decision that I knew would change things for good. I needed to take control of my life again. For the longest time, I had been looking for a new job. As much as I loved working from home, I felt like I wasn't getting the kind of growth or professional opportunities I needed. I didn't want to stay stuck in a job that didn't challenge me or help me move forward. Plus, the whole tension with my mother-in-law wasn't making anything easier, especially when she constantly judged me for working from home. I wanted to prove to myself and her that I could handle a real career and do something more than what she thought I was doing. So I started applying to jobs outside of my comfort zone, looking for opportunities that would push me to grow. And guess what? I actually found one. It wasn't easy, but I got an offer from a company that seemed like a great fit for my skills and career goals. The position was a step up in my professional life and I was really excited. There was just one catch. The job was about 2 hours away from where I currently live, and I would have to relocate if I wanted to take it. At first, I didn't think much about the distance. I was just focused on the fact that I had found a job that could be a real turning point in my career. But then reality hit me. This meant I'd be living about 2 hours and 5 minutes away from Faith's house. I couldn't believe it. It felt like the universe was giving me an opportunity to get away from all the stress she caused. But there was also the practical issue of how I'd manage the move, especially considering my husband was often away within the army and it would be just me and my daughter. Commuting that much every day wasn't even a realistic option. I'd be spending so much time in the car. It would take away from everything else in my life. So after a lot of thinking and weighing my options, I made the decision that felt right for me. I'm going to sell our current home and move closer to my new place. I told my husband about the job offer, and I could tell he was a bit surprised, but also supportive. He knew this was something I had been hoping for, but I also saw the concern in his eyes. He was worried about the logistics of everything. It wasn't an easy conversation, but we both knew it was a step I needed to take for myself. I reached out to the company and accepted the job offer. It felt empowering. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was taking control of my future. And yes, I had to make some big changes, but sometimes making big changes is the only way to break free from a toxic situation. I wanted to build a better life for my daughter and for myself and for our little family, and this job was the key to unlocking that. I had been thinking about selling my house for a while, but I didn't want to make the move too soon because I was trying to keep things low-key. So after I settled into the idea of relocating for my job, I decided to sell my house and move to a completely new place. Now, let me be honest, this was a bit of a petty move on my part. I didn't exactly tell Faith that I was planning to sell my house. I wanted to take control of the situation without her interference. I didn't want her opinions or judgments to get in the way of what I knew I needed to do. So I sold the house and moved into the new place, and I didn't tell her until the deal was done and I was already settled in. To be clear, I didn't go completely radio silent on her. Faith did visit us a few more times before the sale went through, but every time she planned to come over, I made sure to get the for sale sign removed from my yard. I wasn't trying to hide it forever, but I knew how she would react, and I didn't want to deal with it at the time. For a while, things went smoothly. Faith had no clue, and I was able to enjoy the relief of not having to explain myself to her every time I made a decision. But of course, we could only get away with something like this for so long. Last weekend, Faith showed up at my house unannounced, and as usual, she walked right in like she owned the place. She didn't even knock or text me beforehand. When she saw the for sale sign in my front yard, her face went from casual to pure confusion. She stopped in her tracks, looked at me, and asked, "What's this all about?" At that moment, I realized the cat was out of the bag. There was no turning back now. So I told her the truth. I had sold the house and moved. Of course, she didn't take it well. She immediately started going off on me, yelling about how I had no right to sell the house without talking to my husband first. She went on and on about how it was a decision that needed both of our signatures. But here's the thing. This house was in my name. It was my house. I didn't need my husband's approval to sell it. I tried to explain that calmly, but of course it didn't help. She was beyond upset. She kept shouting at me saying I was disrespecting my husband by making such a big decision on my own. I stayed calm on the outside, but on the inside I was seething. Here I was trying to do something positive for myself and my daughter, and all she could do was belittle my choices and make me feel small. After a while of yelling and trying to guilt-trip me, she finally stormed out of my house. That should have been the end of it, but, of course, it wasn't. Faith hasn't stopped blowing up my phone since that day. She's been calling and texting nonstop, leaving me angry voicemails, and I just keep ignoring them. I know it's probably not the healthiest approach, but I'm done with the drama. I'm done with her trying to control everything, and I'm tired of constantly having to defend my choices to her. But here's where I start to feel a little guilty. After everything that went down with Faith, I had a conversation with my husband. I don't want to hide anything from him. So I told him exactly what happened and why I didn't tell Faith about selling the house. To be honest, I thought he'd back me up, but his response was different from what I expected. He said that I should have told Faith the truth sooner. He argued that I should have at least been honest with her from the start, even if she would have flipped out. He said that keeping her in the dark about something this big was only going to make the situation worse in the long run. Honestly, I felt kind of thrown off by his response. I didn't think I had done anything wrong, but the more I thought about it, the more I started to wonder if maybe he had a point. Maybe I should have been upfront with Faith even though I knew it would cause drama. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I made a huge mistake. Did I go too far by not telling Faith about the sale earlier? Did I really handle it the wrong way? I know I've been dealing with a lot of stress from her, and maybe I just wanted to avoid more conflict. But I also feel like I have a right to make my own decisions without being told what to do all the time. Still, hearing my husband say that I should have been more open with his mom has left me feeling a bit unsure. So, Reddit, I need your advice. Did I do the right thing? Or am I in a hole? So things just keep getting messier with Faith, and I really need to get this off my chest. I'm still dealing with the fallout from selling my house. And it's like every time I think it can't get worse, she manages to top it. I thought I had dealt with her craziness by now, but she just kept finding new ways to make my life harder. Faith actually showed up and made an absolute scene at the open house I was holding for the house. I had scheduled the open house and had everything set up, candles lit, the house clean and looking its best, and I even baked some cookies for the potential buyers. I wasn't expecting a ton of people, but I thought I'd get a few serious inquiries. Ella and I were really looking forward to choosing this chapter, and things were going pretty smoothly until Faith showed up, uninvited, of course. Now remember, Faith and I haven't been on the best of terms lately. So when she showed up at my open house, I honestly didn't know what to expect. I figured she might pop by to check in and cause some drama, but I wasn't ready for what she did next. She started by loudly making remarks about how the house was nothing like it used to be and how my decision to leave my husband's home and take Ella with me was a huge mistake. She was saying all of this in front of the potential buyers, and I could see the confusion on their faces. Some of them even started whispering to each other, probably wondering if the place was cursed or something. Faith then turned to the buyers, introduced herself as Ella's grandmother, and started making a scene about how I was ripping Ella away from her family. She went off about how I had no right to take Ella away from her grandmother and that they'd never see each other again because I was moving so far away. She even tried to guilt-trip Ella, telling her, "You'll never see your grandmother again if you go with your mom." Ella, who's only 6, was completely thrown off by this and started looking uncomfortable. She didn't understand what was going on, but she could sense the tension in the air. At this point, I knew I had to step in. I wasn't going to let Faith use my daughter like that to manipulate the situation. I told Faith in front of everyone that even if this house didn't sell, Ella and I were leaving. We had already signed a lease for a small apartment in the new city, and I was moving forward with my life. I made it clear that this wasn't about her or anyone else, but about what was best for me and Ella. At this point, Faith was fuming. She started cursing at me, calling me selfish and saying that I was taking her granddaughter away from her. She was so loud and so angry that I honestly thought she might throw something at me, but I stood my ground. I told her very firmly that she had to leave, and after some more yelling, she finally stormed out of the house, but not before one last parting shot. "You'll regret this. You've lost me and your family. You'll never be happy without us. I don't even know what to make of that. I don't know if she believes what she's saying or if it's just the guilt trip talking. Either way, I don't regret what I did. It wasn't easy to stand up to her, but I had to do it for the sake of my daughter and my own peace of mind. As for the open house, well, it didn't go as planned. The buyers who were still around after the scene didn't seem very interested anymore. I honestly don't know how I'll find a buyer for this place now. I'm sure the whole situation scared them off, and I feel like I'm back at square one. But you know what? I can't control what Faith does or says. I can't keep living in fear of her trying to control every aspect of my life. It's been a rough few days since that open house, and I'm still getting the occasional text from Faith calling me all kinds of names and telling me that I've made a huge mistake. My husband isn't exactly on my side either. He thinks I should have handled it differently, but, honestly, I don't know what else I could have done. I gave her the chance to back off, but she just kept pushing. Okay, Reddit. I need to vent. Things with Faith just seem to keep getting worse, and I don't know how much more of this I can handle. I was at home the other day working on some things for my new job when I got a call from Ella's school. Now this is already weird because the school never calls me unless there's a problem. They told me that Faith had picked up Ella from school, and I just about lost it. They said Faith had told them that she was there to pick Ella up early, and they didn't question it. But, of course, I had no idea about this. My first reaction was panic. I tried calling Faith immediately, but she didn't pick up her phone. It went straight to voicemail every time. My heart started racing because I couldn't understand why she'd do this without telling me, especially after everything that's been going on between us. I ended up grabbing my keys and rushing to Faith's house. I knocked on the door, but no one answered. I called her again and again, and I was feeling more and more frantic. I had no idea where Ella was and Faith's phone just wouldn't pick up. By now, I was thinking the worst, honestly. It had been almost an hour since I first found out, and I was in full-on panic mode. I started calling my husband, but, of course, he wasn't picking up either. He was out doing something for work. I was on my own completely terrified. 3 hours passed. Yes, 3 hours. It felt like the longest 3 hours of my life. Then finally, Faith and Ella walked into the house like nothing happened. I swear it took everything in me not to completely explode. Ella was holding a shopping bag and looking all happy like nothing was wrong. I immediately asked Faith what the heck was going on. She casually said, "Oh, I just took Ella shopping. I wanted to spend as much time with my granddaughter as I could before you moved away, and that was it." That was her excuse. She didn't even seem sorry about it. She just acted like it was no big deal that she had taken my daughter away without telling me. It felt like a slap in the face. I was furious. I don't know how else to explain it. My blood was boiling. I immediately told Faith to get out of my house. I was so angry, I could barely keep my voice steady. I told her, "If you ever do something like this again, I will be calling the police. You can't just take my child without my permission, especially not when I don't even know where she is." I think she was taken aback because she didn't say much after that, but she definitely looked annoyed. I didn't care at that point. I told my husband everything that had happened, and to my surprise, he actually agreed with me. He said, "We definitely need to set some boundaries with her. This is getting out of hand." Finally, he was on my side. I've been waiting for him to really stand up to Faith, and this time, he did. We both agreed that we needed to have a serious conversation with Faith about boundaries. This isn't the first time that she's crossed the line. And at this point, I'm not willing to let it slide. I'm not sure what to do, though. I don't know if Faith really understands why this is such a big deal. For her, it seems like she just wants to keep Ella as close as possible, but that doesn't give her the right to ignore my wishes as a parent. I'm the one who's been taking care of Ella day in and day out, and I'm the one who has to be there for her when she needs something, not Faith. When I told Faith I was going to set boundaries, she didn't seem very happy about it. She kept saying things like, "I'm just trying to be a good grandmother, and you're being too harsh on me." But, no, I wasn't being harsh. I'm trying to protect my daughter and make sure she feels safe and secure. A part of that is making sure Faith understands where the line is. If she can't repeat that, then I'm done. I will cut off, and I'm not afraid to do that if it means protecting my daughter. Honestly, I'm still a little shaken up by the whole situation. I can't believe she thought it was okay to just take Ella without even telling me. It's like she doesn't see me as Ella's mother at all. I'm not sure what I expected, but it definitely wasn't that. I know some people might think I'm overreacting, but I just can't let Faith have that kind of control over my family. I need to know that I can trust the people around me to respect decisions, especially when it comes to my child. I'm just so exhausted from constantly having to defend myself against her. Hey, Reddit. I wanted to drop in with a little update. So first of all, I finally moved. It was a big step, but, honestly, I feel so much relief now that I'm not in the same city as Faith. I still haven't sold my old house though. There have been a few offers on it, so I'm hoping one of them works out soon. I'm kind of in no rush, but it would be nice to get it off my plate before I have to deal with any more drama. I'm still on the hunt for a permanent home, but I'm taking my time with it. I don't want to rush into anything. I want to make sure that the place I pick is perfect for me and Ella, and that it's somewhere we can both feel comfortable. So for now, we've taken those short-term lease on an apartment while I look around for something more long-term. As for Faith, well, nothing has changed there. She's still not allowed to talk to me or Ella. I've been very clear about that. I've also made it very clear that I'm not telling her where we're living. She's been sending me texts, but I just ignore them.